So today I'm going to do a podcast about faith, what it is and what it isn't. So faith is not sheer force of will. That is not what it is. What faith is this. You throw a ball and it makes an arc and it lands on a domino line and it starts a chain reaction with the dominoes that goes out and it comes in and it makes that sort of effect, okay? Every ball you throw creates a chain reaction. Every ball you throw creates a sort of effect. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So faith is this, understanding that your actions have consequences. And because they have consequences, what you need to do is work to better yourself and to have better actions that create better consequences. Jesus says, clean the inside of your cup before the outside. And it starts from within. And the only way you can cleanse yourself from within is if you have the Holy Spirit to cleanse you. So if you can cry out, Abba, Father, the Holy Spirit dwells inside of you. So that's the fact. That faith is clinging to righteousness and clinging to the truth and clinging to God, despite the fact that, you might have set off some bad chain reactions that created bad consequences in your life. Or you set off good actions that created bad consequences too, because that can often happen and often will happen, is that righteousness produces unfavorable results. It makes people hate you, it makes people dislike you, it makes people do all sorts of manner of evil against you. So that's the fact. That's the fact, is that if you are going to have faith, you have to act in accordance to your faith, as faith without works is dead. And so faith is allowing the Holy Spirit to cleanse you, to cause you to walk in righteousness. That's faith. So what faith is not is sheer willpower. Faith is not, I will it, therefore it happens. Faith is, I do the right thing in order to do what God has called me to do. And I'm empowered by God to do those things. That's faith. So faith moves mountains too. This is true. Faith can move mountains. Entire mountains can move according to God's will. Which faith is also trusting on God to provide, trusting on God to order, and not yourself. You do not need to be the master of the universe. You do not need to know why and how everything happens in order to set it right. Because let's put it this way, you can read a thing and 5 years later have the wrong memory in your mind and think that it said this, and 5 years earlier you read something completely different, and then you speak what is not true because you remember it wrong. So God is who orders and provides. God is who establishes the universe. God is the one who creates the infallible and immutable laws of the universe, of which we petition Him to order our lives right. Not to, in a sense, be the master and controller of our lives, but rather passive in God's creation and just walking in the comfort of the Holy Spirit and the blessing of the Sabbath. This is what we need to do. Because if we walk in truth, if we walk in reality, if we walk in faith, we will, in a sense, walk in a righteous path that will produce good effects on the world around us and on ourselves. If we walk in sin, we will produce unrighteous results that will, in effect, harm everybody around us, including ourselves. So, spiritually, we need to have faith in God to order our walk and order our steps and also order the reality around us that He knows better than we do. So, a good example of this is Euler's identity. E to the I pi power equals -1. Now you might think, well, does it really? Arithmetically, no, it doesn't. Arithmetically, it doesn't equal that. It equals something else. But the fact of the matter is, what e to the I pi power is doing is it's molding into an equation, because it's not e to the I pi power equals -1. E to the I pi power equals cosine plus I sine. And it does that because of the equality. It's very important that you understand when you have that equality, it shapes it to the other side of the equal sign. So that's very important that you understand this is why Euler's identity works this way. It's actually putting you on a direction of a circle. And you have to understand that things in life can be like that. Not all things in life are literal. Not all things in life are literal. This includes the Bible. So when we read something in the Bible that seems to contradict, because there's a lot of things in there that seem to contradict, we need to understand that it is a typology, it is a metaphor, it is not a literal number, but it is actually a shape that shapes us to our future, which is either heaven or hell. As you read the prophets, it has heaven, it has hell. And if we walk in accordance to God's law, God will shield us from the curses of prophecy. If we walk in accordance to our own heart and our own lust, God will, in a sense, cause our city to be besieged, and we will fall to the siege and we will die by the sword. So to speak, it doesn't mean literally die by the sword, it means spiritually you will die. So this is what faith is walking in accordance to the law. Like I said with Euler's identity, it's not literally e to the I pi power equals -1. That's not literally true. But because if you put it into a calculator, you'll get a different number. Should, at least. If you look at the shape and how it bends to the formula, and this is how higher mathematics actually works, is that you're not working with numbers, you're working with shapes. The e to the I pi power equals -1 will bend to the unit circle, and the sine and cosine will equal the vector of where the point is on the unit circle. So it's not literally true, but it is 100% true. It is a law of mathematics, actually. It is 100% a law of mathematics. It's just you're working through a shape, not just the numbers. Prophecy is just like that. So we can see that there's contradictions in the Bible. They're not really contradictions at all. They're, in a sense, poetry, teaching us, in some sense, not to take too much regard to literal numbers or how much, like, not to pay attention to those trifling details, but to look at the larger picture, and also to fit our lives to a shape according to the prophetic archetypes, that if we walk in righteousness, we walk in truth, faith shall guide us and we shall enter into the narrow gate. If we walk according to our own law and according to our own knowledge, we will, in a sense, have an idol. We will, in a sense, be besieged by Babylon, Assyria, you name it. And those prophecies are curses. They're curses. They're judgments against our enemies, but if we fall into the curse, then, in a sense, we still need to cling to God in order to be removed from the curse, as that's who Christ is. He's the removing of the curse of the prophets and the law. He is the removing of the curse, and he is the blessing.